Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping.
So I hear you're related to Edgar Allan Poe.
He was strange. I cannot begin to count the number of times someone said this to me. People see my last name, Poe, and give me strange looks as they question me about my sanity, wondering if I will become a raging alcoholic who buries people in their floorboards and is trailed by a black cat. I've repeatedly had to explain that I am a normal young girl. Nevertheless, I know my childhood was less than typical. Instead of playing Nintendo or dressing baby dolls, my parents read me stories like The Pit and the Pendulum, Cask of Amontillado, and Eureka. In middle school, when friends told me they were going to an Usher concert, I could not understand why anyone would want to go see Roderick Usher, the man who buried his own sister alive. And even now, I cannot escape the ever-present shadows of my family tree. On a recent family vacation to the South Carolina coast, my dad made us eat at, of all places, Poe's Tavern. I had to sit and watch my father meander around the tables, peering over people's meals to look at the Poe artifacts hanging on the wall. My sister looked at me and sighed. You just have to accept it. That's Dad. I raised my eyebrows. I acknowledged the hard truth. It was not just Edgar Allan that was weird. My whole family was strange. As a child, I had an image of the perfect family. I imagined all my friends to have cookie-cutter families idealized by wealth, intellect, style. In contrast to this image, my dad picked me up from school in his white minivan while screaming across the parking lot, "Oh, doodle-bug!" All I wanted was a normal family, until recently. One of my best childhood friends always seemed to have classy, trendy parents and a happy life. This year, I watched as he was dragged across the country by various moves and then forced to suffer through the embarrassment, pain, and abandonment of a nasty divorce. I realized that what appears glamorous at first glance can easily transform into a nightmare. I had been so concerned with my longing to fit in that I lost sight of the wonderful family I possess. My parents and sister love me. They provide me with encouragement on top of innumerable opportunities. Yes, I'm related to a famous poet who also had a bit of a drinking problem. And my dad lets me doodle-bug in public for the simple joy of watching my face turn red. I may not have the family that I dreamed of having as a child, but I now realize that just as George Bernard Shaw said, if you cannot get rid of the family skeleton, you may as well make it dance.
Imagine a world without any pain. A world where no matter what you do, you are incapable of feeling any negative sensations. No fear, pain, remorse, concern. The idea may seem like a heaven on earth. Just think, money saved on painkillers and psychologists, greater athletes, the list goes on and on. But the more one thinks about it, the more one realizes that in a world filled with imperfect people, a world without pain would be, quite frankly, disastrous. Pain motivates us to meet our needs for survival, enables us to make wise decisions, and can be one of the most defining aspects of humanity that the creative arts tap into. Perhaps the most basic role that pain plays in our society is that of motivating us to survive. Let's examine one hypothetical situation, the workplace. Imagine that there is no longer any negativity associated with work. In fact, your paycheck no longer comes at any real cost to you, because work has suddenly stripped of everything that made it uncomfortable. Well, you may be wondering, with no more pain, shouldn't a lot more get done around here? At first, yes, but after a while, people will begin to realize they don't have to work. Put simply, starving to death wouldn't hurt, and the sight of their emaciated families would trigger no emotional response. Pain plays a vital role in our survival mechanism, and without it, our entire world will soon find itself in shambles. While motivating us to survive, pain plays another important role in our decision-making process. Take crime and punishment. In case you haven't noticed, America's legal system is built chiefly on negative incentives. If you run a red light, you have to pay a fine. Well, in a world without pain, people would ask each other, why stop at red lights? Why obey any other traffic law for that matter? Of course, there would be no bother to do so, but maybe people would just rather disobey traffic laws. Let's face it, driving 90 on the highway is really good. The only way to keep people safe on the highways would be through positive incentives. Congratulations! You just stopped at a red light. Have a Jelly-filled donut. As a result, heart disease would run rampant, and heart attacks would kill off half the continental United States. But the importance of negative reinforcement doesn't stop there. People usually make wise decisions because of the fear of the consequences of a bad one. Well, in a world without pain, you've just gotten rid of both the fear and the consequence. So, grab that skateboard and head for the pyramids at Cancun. Along the way, stop to admire a gorgeous sunset. That's fueled by air pollution. And a little secret, it's really fun to watch the Death Rate skyrocket. But perhaps the most profound impact pain has in our world is in the arts. Musician after musician, even genre after genre, succeed to embody pain itself in their works. Frida Kahlo's beautiful paintings are inspired by, driven by, and filled with pain, both the physical pain of her many surgeries and accidents, and the emotional pain of her many marriage problems and miscarriages. Shakespeare's tragedies are simply that, tragedies, where the good always die young, and the happily ever after seems like a slap in the face. While these works may be depressing to some on the surface, they really serve an important purpose. They force us to ask the hard questions, find solutions, and move on. They keep us from becoming callous people who don't care enough to fix the problem. As you can see, a world without pain is not heaven on earth in the slightest. In fact, taking away pain would actually create more problems than it would solve. So, the next time you face pain, stop and think. Don't hide from your pain, but like Shakespeare and Frida Kahlo, take it and turn it into something beautiful.